in-laws' house and stuffed myself, watched some more football, came home, watched some more football, went to bed, and got up and, some good college games on Friday. Had a big Aztec win last night to close out the regular season at 8-4 against, they just creamed UNLV 48-14. And now looking forward to the Charger game tonight. Boy, the Chargers, Brian, can we call them red hot right now, or are they just on a roll?
No. Because the NFL this year has very much been topsy-turvy, where you're on top of the world for a week and then you kind of fall off. So I'd say right now they've been successful, and I would say, they can continue their role that they're on. But I wouldn't say that they're hot or even red hot, because the NFL showed you can be humbled in a week. You can be the best team, or regarded as the best team in football. The Eagles, the Patriots, the Ravens, enter team here, the Giants, and all of a sudden you get smacked to reality. Giants sitting on top of the world before last week. They get beat by the Eagles. Right now they're trailing the Jacksonville Jaguars 17-9. So you really honestly try to go out there and go as hard as you can for as long as you can, Costa, and then you basically look back and say, where do I stand right now week to week? Week to 11, Chargers right now, basically feeling pretty good about themselves at 500 again, because at one point you were 2-5. So,
absolutely.
But here's the tough part. You can't really ever sigh and let your shoulders kind of down and go, okay, we're comfortable. You can't, because the rest of the season is going to be like this. When you get down early, you're scoreboard watching from week 2.
Absolutely.
Week 3.
No kidding. As Charger fans have unfortunately grown accustomed to. We got underway on Thanksgiving Thursday. New England took down Detroit 45-24. The Patriots are who we know they are. There's a team now that's starting to get on a roll. New Orleans nips Dallas, and it would actually ended up being a good game down in Irving, 30-27. And the New York Jets, boy, they just keep the ride going. 26-10 over Cincinnati. This one wasn't really in doubt, but are the Jets red hot? Can we classify them as being like one of those teams now that has the inside track?
I'd say for wins for sure. But here, and I don't want to go and, trust me, they're not monitoring myself for bulletin board material. They had a lot of other big opponents.
Say whatever you want
on their schedule. I like the fact that they're winning a lot of games right now. The only thing that I don't like is it's going to give them home field advantage. But in terms of where they stack up against the rest of the AFC, I like that, because I think they're vulnerable. For as good as they look with their wins and losses, and as good as they have all this talent and all this payroll involved with this team, I think they're vulnerable. I really do. I think Mark Sanchez is a good young quarterback.
Yeah.
But I think Mark Sanchez at times has shown that he can be rattled. I think at times this running back duo of LT and Sean Green looks like it could be stopped. And you look defensively, they have a lot of playmakers, but they've given up some points in games too. Two teams maybe not expected to do a whole lot. So I like the fact that they're winning, and let them just kind of, it's not like last year where, remember, they were basically 500 and he said, we're going to go win the Super Bowl. Yeah. And all of a sudden they were like, gosh, dang, we have to, live up to these expectations. I think now, they're feeling pretty good about themselves. Let them feel good about themselves. Seriously, I'm a big believer in, you want to kind of slide under the radar. The hard part is for the Chargers, you can never do that because the expectations are so high. So when you start off slow, you got to make up so much ground. So when you make that ground up, well, already it's been noticed. Here they come, November, how well the Chargers play.
Is that what they're calling it now?
November. I mean, you look at the numbers and you go, well, son of a gun, here we are. It falls in November again. They had to go out and play successful football. Well, that's setting the bar pretty freaking high for a team that right now has a lot of injuries and is trying to just stay above 500 right now. I mean, that's as much as we're talking about playoffs and all this other fun stuff. They need to try to stay above 500. That's what they need to do today with the win. If not, they fall below 500 again, and you're really setting yourself up.
Well, yeah, and 10-6 can still probably win the division for you. Granted, you've got to hope that the Chiefs start losing and the Raiders start losing as well, which they probably will. All things going the way we've seen the two teams in the last couple of weekends. But yeah, you talk about that. The Jets are rolling. They're winning games. New England is rolling and winning games. And we've talked about this before the last couple of weeks. Postseason on the East Coast. It has not treated the Chargers well. But the championship teams go in and they win the cold weather games. It doesn't matter where they're playing. If you're a great team, you win them. Chargers haven't done it, though.
Yeah, I find it fascinating about that fan that kind of is always like, oh, well, this team ain't going to be worth. They'll lose back east. Really? Because, those people feel so much more confident than I do. I guess I'm a week-to-week guy with this team, and I want to see. I just want to be in that position as a fan to be able to root my team on to go maybe shock the world or to go pull off a big win on the road, back east. You win your division, you either have a bye or you have a home game. For that first game. Yeah. And, I love to set yourself up that way. Go win your division first and you deal with traveling later. I don't understand the mentality sometimes of fans.
Brian, it's mostly the fans. You ask the players, it's like, who gives a crap? It's football.
Yeah.
Phil's still 100 yards regardless of where you are.
I love that they have so much confidence within their own team that they just assume it's going to happen. But you know what? Let's get to the playoffs again. Let's win that division again for, 5 out of the last 6 years? Or 5 in a row, 6 out of the last 7 years. And basically say, okay, hey, we're in this position now to possibly go travel back east. And, now there's all these expectations.
Yeah.
Man, putting the cart before the horse. I mean, there's 6 weeks left to play, Mike. I just don't look at it like, it's just a foregone conclusion. To me, that's the one thing about the NFL. This year has proved more than any year probably in recent years. You need to go out there and play successful football, or you're not going to move on to the playoffs.
Absolutely,
it is not a consistent year. It's the haves and the have-nots for 1 week at a time. Then the have-nots bounce back and become haves. You really have to maintain. Consistency is the key here. If you can go out and play consistent football, you're going to find yourself in the playoffs this year because even the worst of teams will give you a battle. Detroit Lions are the best bad team I've ever seen. And we've said this before about them, but they are honestly a tough, crappy team. You look at their wins and losses, says they're a crappy team. They battle everybody.
Well, and that's a team that's going to make they're going to make waves in the next couple of years because they look like they're with Schwartz. They're on the right track. But you're right. I mean, the worst player in the NFL is still one of the greatest athletes you're ever going to meet, as far as football is concerned.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you were have to design a poster for the topsy-turvy way this football season has turned out for the NFL, just throw Michael Vick up on it. The fact that now he's being, considered as an MVP candidate. No one would have thought at the beginning of the season. It was Kevin Cobb's job, you know?
He wasn't even the starter.
Yeah, who? Michael Vick? Nah. He's not going to be able to resurrect his career. But you're right. It has been so absolutely topsy-turvy this year. And anybody... it's terribly cliche on any given Sunday. But my God, this year, to me, it really has jumped off the page that what you just said. You better be ready to go. Game in, game out, or you're going to get your ass handed to you.
Yeah, now, I have a West Coast bias. Tom Kreisvik tweets about it all the time, the former UT writer that writes for AOL. He calls himself West Coast bias. I'm the same way. I told him I love that mentality. So I have a West Coast bias, but I think it's that East Coast mentality where they have to anoint